Welcome to the realm of magic and mystery, classic horror and sci-fi. You are now entering the House of the Unusual podcast with your hosts, Eddie and Joe. Welcome all you cool ghouls and friendly fiends to the House of the Unusual podcast. I'm your host, Joe Pavlansky. With me as always is the maestro of mail order mysteries, Eddie Guevara. Today, the house opens its doors to special guests, Jude Cambisi and William Osborne. Gentlemen, how's everybody doing tonight?
Fine. Good evening.
All right.
Fantastic.
Well, we're going to go down. We got two new guests on tonight, Jude and William. So we're going to go down the list. And, gentlemen, just introduce yourselves. Let the audience know a little bit about yourself, some of your interests, and maybe what brought you on the podcast tonight. So, Jude, let's start off with you, brother. What's up?
Hey, guys, I'm glad to be here. Appreciate it. My name's Jude Cambisi. I'm from New Orleans. I work all over the United States. I'm right now sitting in Dothan, Alabama in a hotel and not much to do. But what brought me here was I'm a kid of the 70s. You know, I'm kind of like Eddie. I've seen his eBay store, and I thought, man, well, look at this guy. And he's got all this stuff, and then the ghost. And, my dad used to be a traveling salesman, and he would go to these they used to have these novelty stores. And I remember getting the black bank with the hand that comes out and grabs the coin and stuff like that, and then, being comic book, not a collector, just Batman and different things, the ads, like Eddie says, the ads grab you and makes your imagination just kind of go wild. And I'm like, man, that's cool. And then when you get it, you're like, really?
That seems a general consensus.
Yeah, I mean, some of it is cool, but then I guess being that nostalgic, I had it, and a lot of stuff. I mean, I'm nowhere near a collector like you guys. I'm just more of an enthusiast, and getting some. What did he say? House of the unusable.
Unusable.
It's like house of the unneeded, because we don't need it, but we love it.
That is true. That is true.
So that's kind of why I'm here, to meet guys that maybe learn some things I didn't know, maybe share some things, I just got something cool in the mail. I got the Frankenstein mystery game from Hasbro. Remember that?
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, what year was that?
That was 1963. I never had that, but I just think the artwork was cool.
Oh, that's all that painted artwork was always real cool. Much better than the digital stuff they produce today.
Yeah, the artwork, like Aurora models. I mean, that was my thing, Aurora models and, things like that.
Awesome. Well, Jude, good to have you on board, and we're going to turn it over to William. William, what's up?
What's up? All right. I'm Magic Bill, and I'm a chemical engineer. Been doing it for several decades now. I'm a baby boomer, and I remember the comic book ads and sea monkeys, and then you get them. And always like to save up, and Johnson Smith and some of the other big names back in the day. And my brother got X-ray specs when we were a kid, and we looked in them, and wow, you can see the bones in your hand. So go buy yourself a pair and find out. So.
I just got my first pair of X-ray specs not too long ago. One of the things I've always wanted, and yeah, they definitely lived up to the the hype for about a second.
So I'm big in electronics. I've been doing electronics for probably half a century now, and people ask, why didn't you get into electrical engineering rather than chemical. And I said, well, I thought it'd be too boring. So, but currently, I'm doing some consulting up here in Kingsport, and we're modernizing a high explosives facility. So,
Nice. Nice. Well, let's not blow yourself up or anybody else.
actually, about 2 years ago, they had a fire, and it led to an explosion. 4 hours later, and we were over a mile away in a trailer on site, and it rocked the trailer and almost broke all the windows when it went off. So
Oh wow.
luckily, no one was hurt, but the building was leveled right to the ground. So yeah,
Wow.
yep. But yeah, so it can be dangerous, but most time they process it really safe. But yeah, that was kind of a bad day for those people that day. So, but yeah, so I sent Eddie some pictures of some of the things I've done in the past, and you talk about collectibles. I was big into Star Wars, and I produced electronic version. It had a neon tube in it of the Star Wars lightsaber, but I don't do that anymore because Lucas Prince of Darkness tried to sue me. So I did a cease and desist, and yeah, returned what I had in inventory, plus pay him, of course. So, but I did it for the love of the fans. So it was,
Awesome.
yeah.
Sounds good. Well, Magic Bill, glad to have you on board, and we're gonna turn it over to the maestro of mail order mysteries, Eddie. What's going on?
How are you guys? How are you? Everything's going fine in my side of the woods here. It's funny what William was saying right there. I'm surprised that the cease and desist was not just enough for them to just stop there. They had to get money and stuff. I'm very surprised because usually they don't go that far. Another thing I was going to say, when you're talking about, like, Jude, for example, you're saying about all the famous mail order ads. And one of the things that, when we were talking earlier, the company, not earlier, but earlier before the show started, the company is actually asking me to come on board, which is called Digitable, actually. One of the things, one of the founders of the company, when he heard sea monkeys, every time he would pass by me, he goes, "Those sea monkeys, man." And that's actually what I think caught him the most. He was brought right back to the era of the sea monkeys. Now, he just turned 50, and he's actually a lawyer. And, when you have, because the thing is, if you turn 50, you just kind of like were born right towards the end where most of these companies were going out of business already. So if you were in your mid-50s, you obviously were able to buy everything from the comics. If you weren't in your mid-50s, like say you're 45, 46, or like even Kirk Damaris, who broke Mail Order Mysteries because of his reason of being at 42, he was able to go. Well, he was able to go into the different, like areas. Like, for example, he would go to his grandfather's house or his father's house, whatever, and they had in the basement, they had comic books. So he would say, "Hey, Mom, can I order this?" And then when they obviously sent out for it, it wouldn't work. It would be out of business. So that's what you have a lot of people. Some of the people that gave the book 4 stars instead of 5 said that they wished that it wasn't written by somebody that, just was interested in the era. They wanted somebody that actually had lived in it. Now, I'm assuming that me and Jude and William are about the same age, give or take.
I'm 58.
Am I right in this?
Oh, I'm 64,
okay, I'm
so
William?
I'm a lot older than you guys.
You passed us. You're actually you're actually at the same age Todd is, I think. No, Todd is 60. One of the 64 is the guy who did the robot for me.
There you
go. The engineer who put it together. Dr. Saab, he's the same age as you. Well, here's the thing, Bill. You came out in an era when the Honor House Company popularized the rocket ship. That was one of their first selling items. And this is before they started
I
with the
remember the
Polaris nuclear
submarine, but
submarine
I
for
don't
798
remember
or
the
16.
rocket. So I guess I didn't read that many
Well,
comic books or pay attention to the ads in the back.
yeah, well, the rocket ship came out probably the
Okay, I
mid
was
50s,
born
late
in mid
50s actually.
50s, so
Honor House,
56. So yeah.
okay, 50s. Okay, because I was going to say Honor House started in 47, and then in the late 50s they started with the rocket ship, and then they followed it with the Sherman tank, which was not really that popular. In fact, very few people even ever talk about the tank. But then when the submarine came on, which I think the first ad for the submarine was like in 64, it stayed
Wow.
till almost 1979. So that was the home run for it. Now, of course, everybody from Jude and you would both know, because Jude is the same exact age as I am, that anything we bought as a kid, obviously one, or parents threw it out on us, or it wouldn't last because of the fact it was made of cardboard or it was a rubber balloon, whatever it was. Well, because of that, I believe that probably the submarine that I
Probably
have is the
Might
so.
be.
only one left on
Might
the
be.
planet.
Yeah.
in, in, and the funny thing about it is when I did an unboxing for it, I had like 84 thumbs up and I had like 76 thumbs down. And the reason, there was two things I did. First of all, this was a couple years ago when I'm kind of still new to YouTube, and I had this stupid music in the background that I couldn't really remove after the video was done and uploaded. And the other thing is that they wanted me to put it together. Now, how would you put together a submarine that uses, see, the way that they built the submarine and the rocket ship and all that, it uses a rivet that when you stick it into the
Yeah.
paper, it's like a clasp. You can't remove it.
Okay.
So once built, you can't take it apart. And that's the reason you can't put it together. Now, if you guys are aware of it, I don't know if you've been following us on YouTube, either you or Jude, that I was asked by actually one of the guys that let me go back a couple of steps. When Mail Order Mysteries came out in 2011, me and Kirk Damaris were over in the Jacob Javits, and we were signing autographs of the book and stuff like that. And we were approached by one of the I think it was the Travel Channel or one of the companies that pitches shows for one of those channels, and they wanted us to do kind of
Oh
like
yeah.
a American Pickers. Well, going fast forward, we had, which I'm not going to say in the air what happened, but we kind of didn't get the pitch. We got to pitch, but we didn't get the we didn't get the home run with the show. And I continued to somehow try to reach out to some type of media platform or television or something to try to see if something could be done with all my collectibles. And I touched base with an individual from one of the main channels of television, which I can't say the name here because it wouldn't benefit me in any way possible, because there is a book that I'm putting together, which is like a Mail Order Mysteries #2, a lot better, I think, because I think it will sell very good. It's going to be hardcover, and the cover's being helped. Somebody's helping me so I can't in any way, shape, or form mention the person. But what I could tell you is that they were going to do a show on television. Then they were going to do it for Netflix, and that's when the pandemic hit. So I had Rick from Pawn Stars. Had not me. I didn't have Rick. He actually did there was a show that somebody bought to him, a pocket pen from Johnson Smith Company. The pocket pen, one of the things he mentioned is that he wanted the submarine more than anything in the world, and his parents told me, you can't get it, he goes, and I never forgave them since that day. So my artist, the guy who drew for me, actually contacted the company that does Pawn Stars, and they reached out to me, and I was supposed to fly over to Nevada for it, or Las Vegas, I'm sorry. And what happened is that due to the pandemic, again, it kind of threw a wrench in my plan. And the idea was for me to have the sub appear on the show. Getting back, that those are very popular items, and I can tell you this much: I still have my original sub. I still have my original Monster Ghost that I bought in 1973, and I still have the Johnson Smith Ghost, which I got later on eBay. But that was the first time I think any of those items ever appeared, and I paid a hefty price for it. But okay, so what do you guys have to
I
tell
was
us a little
looking for
bit more,
the
Jude?
message that I sent you. I think it was on Facebook, and now I remember I sent a video and a picture of me with the ghost. I forgot about that, but that's what. Okay, well,
Okay.
I don't think I ever had. I can't remember if I had the ghost. I think my friend we were trying to figure out what to get. It was a ghost, and I think the skeleton hands too. But yeah,
You got that
and
free
it was like
when you ordered
remote
the ghost. You
control.
got the skeleton
It
head.
climbs out of your pocket. It was a string, right?
It was a string. The thing that's funny about the hands is they were really, really cheap.
Yeah.
It was offered as a freebie with the order, and the idea was you're supposed to
Yeah.
tie a fishing line to the back of the hands, and then you put it in your pocket and you put the fishing line around. But the thing that's funny about that is, now that you mentioned the hands, is when a person purchased the ghost. I mean, you're thinking of buying the ghost, and I forgot to include the hands one time. This years ago, and they returned it because they said the hands are missing. So some people buy, they buy it for the little souvenir that comes with it more than the.
Well,
actual,
do you ever?
funny,
do you think? I know you've been looking for the
Well,
robot plans, but do you really think they
all
exist,
my life,
or was
man.
it just BS and somebody was just getting $1 from everybody?
No. The company that ran the robot plans is the same company that sold the 7-foot ghost called the Melton Company. And they also went under guaranteed distributors. And you'll know them as well because
I
they
remember
also
all
sold
that.
the Vampire Bat. Okay. Now, it was sold by the same company. What happened with the Melton Company, though, is that they acquired the robot plans from a guy who actually drew them. And the name of the company that the guy who drew them was called the J-Mar, M-A-R. And you see a lot of his ads in, like earlier comic books. And he passed away in 1971. So, like I said, his ads only appeared in very early issues of Boys Life magazine and stuff. So, in there, he describes the robot plans as being, in fact, I almost kind of blew it here. I almost said the specifications for it. And I don't want to say that because if anybody out there wants to one day make them up, they'll be able to kind of. So I know there's certain features of the plans that I would know if they're authentic or not. Now, the interesting part about those plans is that they were sold for over 15 years. Quite a few people have bought them, including one guy, which I mean, it was kind of fascinating that this guy did this because. Not fascinating. It was kind of stupid because here's a guy that bought something on eBay from me. He bought the robot plans that I have, which if you look at the, they were the ones from the Abracadabra Magic Company, which used to kind of have a Frankenstein says build your own monster. And that's what I ordered as a kid. Now I had those plans, but somehow eBay screwed up and took out the pictures of that particular ad and used the one from the robot, the one that I'm trying to look for. So a guy buys him, and when he gets him, he gets mad, and automatically, and this gives me a negative feedback, which was actually my first, and I was able to fight it. But he gave me a negative feedback, and he said, "Those are not the plans I had him as a kid." So then that tells you one thing: yes, they did exist. This guy had them. The other thing is, I walked into a building which is a PAL. Flea market that's been in business for about 30, 40 years. And the guy, one of the guys that I know there that's a seller, the mail order mystery book had come out. This was around 2012. And I walk in and I'm showing him the book and I say, hey, I got this. And then he looks at the plants. He goes, oh, you know what? I got those same plants in my house. But I have the one with the little kid. So he had said he had those originals. But he's not a nice person at all. So he decided that he would never let me see them, even though he probably is the one that I know would have them today. Another individual who did purchase those plants. I mean, I've come across quite a few people that have purchased it. Another individual that I was looking for, this individual told my artist in California, Cav, that he has a pair. He says, I had them, I lost them, and I have them again in my other house. Now, this guy sells a lot of memorabilia. This guy does on eBay. He's got like 20 or 30,000 feedbacks, okay? The problem is that he has it in one of the boxes and he hasn't found it. He says, as soon as I do, I will let you know. But, I've been trying. I don't want to like rush the guy, but I'm desperate, Now, the other thing that I could tell you about the plants is one time I wrote to the J-Mar company and found out that the son still had the P.O. box that his father had in 1971. And this is about, I would say, 10, 11 years ago. When I wrote to him, he thought it was his uncle. And he sends me back a photo of the ad and the plants and says, hey, you can buy them. They're $2 a copy. How many? So I'm like, oh, my God, this is easy. I should have done this from the beginning. Because there was a time I actually rented a car and drove to Chicago, Illinois from New Jersey and searching for the Melton Company to see if I can get a copy of the plants, if there would be one left. Anyway, the guy calls me on a Sunday morning because what I did is I included a $20 bill. I put $20 cash into the envelope and I sent it right away. And I said, send me 4 sets. And I said, he's a little extra for the postage. He calls me back really nervous. I don't know why he got so scared. He says, my dad died in 1971. I don't know who you are. He says, I'm not going to give you my name either, but I'm going to tell you this. Those plants, I don't know. Why do you want them? There was a cheap cardboard robot. So I played it off and I said, no, because my son looked at an ad and he wanted it. It was really me. So what he did is he said to me, I'm going to send you some airplanes that my father drew and sold through the mail, but I don't have the plans, he said. So it was a bummer, He sent me that and that was it. I never reached out to him again or called. I mean, it's still in back of my mind to try to reach out and see if maybe he came across a set of them. But the only person that I know officially that has the plans, and I know my friend, a lot of people tell me, well, how sure you are? He does, because when I showed him the mail order mystery and he was looking for it, the moment he looked at that page, he goes, oh, those are, and he described them to me exactly what I know they look like from the people I've spoken that had them. And he was able to describe it. And he even said, I even spilled soda on mine because I did build it, but the soda stained it. I still have it in the same drawer by my bed. But this guy is what they call a jerk with a capital J. I mean, I've even offered him $1,000 for this piece of paper. I even told him, I'll give you 500 if you let me look at it, and he won't do it. But I guess when you have a family member, especially say that a brother dies, and the brother swears you're not going to see one of something that you wanted. Let's say like 2 brothers, and something has to. When a guy has a collectible, the other guy wants, and the one brother rather die than give it to him. I guess that's the way he was raised. He's not a nice person at all. Because I mean, I don't know where you would think that somebody can duplicate a pair of robot plants and make a 4. Because just think about it. Like, how many people would really buy it? It's retarded. But anyway, that's the only thing I can tell you about the plants.
Okay.
Wow.
So
you're still in pursuit of them, Eddie. That's what you're saying.
Well, right now with what, Dr. Saab did for me, at least I did get some closure where he did an actual copy of the actual robot, what it looked like. And I think I can actually design plans from those and kind of make them the way they were. And then I'll probably give them to Todd to finish them up for me and surprise me.
Yeah, there you go.
But, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's weird how a piece of paper that was sold for so many years has become so
I think
elusive
you're
that I
probably the
can't
only
find
one
it.
that really is looking for it, you know?
Yeah. You know what's funny? It's when you least try to find it, that's where you find it. But you know what, Jude, to be honest with you, usually I've noticed this in my life that anytime I'm trying to sell something or I want something, it so happens that a lot of people want the same item. I don't know. Maybe I have this intuition that I know what people like. It's weird. But that 7-foot ghost that you bought, I can tell you this much, Jude. In the month of November, they did a review for me on Laura
Oh, yeah.
Legends, one of the girls. And I sold 78 in one single month of those 7-foot ghost in the month of November. It was bizarre. That was just bizarre.
Yeah,
The
well, for
amount
me,
of those
it just
ghosts that I
sparked a
sold.
memory, and I was like, wow, okay. It's what did it originally sell for? Like $1.98 or something? Dollar, yeah. So I'm like,
No, it
okay,
sold
this
for
is a
$1.
little inflation, but hey, it was cool. And I was like, and then I also bought the big Frankenstein green poster, but that was from who? Who was that from?
That's mine as well. What happened is that the original owner of the SS Adams company, or one of the original owners, his name is Dave Harversat, and he's on this show a
Yeah,
lot of
okay.
times, and he also partnered with me, and we were doing see what happens is, as House of the Unusual, I've sold a lot of the novelty items for years, but a lot of those novelty items that I've been selling have always been either manufactured by me, or I bought it through a company and repackaged, whatever it was. But when it comes to actually making things out of the country, Dave Harversat, being the owner of SS Adams, and which was a big manufacturer of things, but they also imported a lot of things, had better connections within China and stuff like that. And we've known each other for 20 some odd years. So we were always considering doing a few things. So what we did is, as a project, we took some of the hardest products to reproduce, and we did. We reproduced the original Hypnocoin. Mine's a lot better because it's like half an inch bigger, and it it actually has a little more twirl than the original Hypnocoin because it consists of, it's more lenticular. It has a couple more photographs than the original coin. The other item we reproduced, first time, never done before, is the weather houses that most of our parents had as a kid, where you would have one side that a girl would come out when it was raining. I'm sorry, when it was sunny, and then the man would come out. And we did that as a haunted house version. It came out so, but it was a nice item. And then we did the Frankenstein. The Frankenstein, we were trying to reproduce that in plastic, which was nearly impossible. We contacted over 15 manufacturers for that. So what we did is we decided to do it in the green vinyl, whatever it is, printed on. It's really thick. And we did it there. Now, it's an exact copy of the original. So even though the originals, and being plastic, was scanned and then it was put together as a puzzle, because all the wrinkles in the paper, it took, I think, over 18 hours for it to get, put together. But then the one we did after that is we also took a magic trick. We repackaged, really nice magic trick, and we call it the Alien 51 Space Orb. Now, what I did with that is I gave most of the stuff David ships out from where he's at, and the situation with that is that I have my stuff that I'm shipping, but since it's two different companies and we're still as one company, I let him do most of the sales, or I send the people to him. It's a lot easier at the end of the year. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to have some of it and then he has some of it, and it becomes more complicated. But yeah, we've been working together on it for a long time. And David also is a strong part of House of the Unusual. And he also has a publishing company that, if you guys like magic books and stuff, is called 1878 Press. And he also has an auction house for people that really want to buy rare, actual, real posters from Houdini. And it's called Harvard Satin Ewing Auctions. And then he's got Presco. Presco and Xanadu. I think he uses Presco for eBay and Xanadu for um, Amazon. But either or, you buying from them or me, whatever, it's still the same company you're buying from because I'm the one that helped produce that. So that is my item as well. But all the other posters, though, are produced on demand. That's why the price is a lot higher because when we printed that particular one, we had a couple of hundred sent out. The other posters are on demand, so they're in high glossy paper. What I'm going to do with that 7-foot Frankensteins, as soon as we run out of the ones we have, it's going to go on demand as well because the problem with those posters is that they're very hard to, it's a pain to ship, find a tube. It's a pain. It really is because of the size, just keeping it, it's just crazy. I did it for so many. I've been selling those posters since 1995, I think. When I first did the 6-foot Frankenstein and Dracula, and I've sold hundreds of them. But it's tough. It's tough. The idea, I don't make any money hardly on any of them because the cost is so high. But what I do, I can tell you this much, is the idea is to keep the tradition alive. Right now, probably in the next week or two, I'm going to have 2 legendary people on this particular podcast. I already spoke with them. I'm trying to see when we can coordinate to do it. And that's going to be Lou Weiss, which is my original partner. He's the one that started the Fun Factory in 1970. He's the original owner of the Fun Factory before I joined forces with him in 1993, 92, 93. The guy who was the CEO, not CEO, but the acting CEO, whatever, of Johnson Smith from 1968 through, I believe it was 2010, Craig Taubeck, is also going to be on. He's one of the guys that helped develop the 7-foot Ghost, the Johnson Smith Ghost. And, and in fact, one of the Ghost special ones that I sell on eBay is signed by him. And I'm going to have them both. Now, these are both are legends in mail order because, quite frankly, they're kind of like the only people left alive that ran those companies.
Oh,
the other one being me. But I ran the original company. I brought it back into being. But people that we can actually trace back to our youth that sold to us are those 2 individuals. Everybody else has since passed away.
Yeah.
So William. Or you got, what can you bring to the table? I know you were saying you like Star Wars, but I can tell you this much: Star Wars was great, and I remember going to see it when it first came out. But I lost interest in Star Wars probably in the mid-90s.
Yeah,
too much of it.
Yeah, and I agree because after doing lots of lightsabers, people didn't realize that in the beginning I did this handmade, and then later we got injection molded handles and things like that. But so they wanted them instantly, and no, I don't have a replicator on the other side. You got to put all the electronics together, solder together, and put the tube in and everything, and there's a procedure for it. But then later on we had a machinist, and he would turn out aluminum handles, and we'd use electroluminescent blades, and those you could fight with. The glass tubes, the neon or argon tubes, and they came in various colors. The red was the neon, and it was clear glass. And then we had a plastic shield over that neon tube. So it was like cushioned, and it had clear silicone washers that sat in there, and they acted as spacers against the outer tube. So it would cushion it inside the tube. And then the high voltage electronics to run the single electrode neon was in the handle, all protected. And the tighter you grip on the handle, the skin resistance would get less, and the light would crawl all the way up. And if you relax your hand, it'd drop all the way down. It looked like the real thing on camera. Well, you saw that animated GIF, and that's exactly the way the camera saw it. So, and it's on my website, hightechmagic.com, HIGH, then a dash, techmagic.com.
I'm going to have a link at the end of the show for any person who's listening out there that might want to see Bill's website. Can go there. Now, Bill, you also, I know I came across it. You reproduced a talking poster of
Yes,
the man who
Alexander the Magician, and with a 4-channel remote control and a bunch of electronics in there, and he talks. So he actually says, let's see if I can pull this up.
Right.
And
yeah, he talks, and I know the eyes
yes,
follow you, correct?
they move back and forth. So there's a servo in there.
Yeah. That's the sound. What is the site?
No, that's on YouTube, and it's youtube.com /HT Magic. So, yeah, that's where you can see that short video I took on my phone. So, I'd like to do a better video.
Are you trying to replicate it?
Yes, they will be for sale, but I'm still working out the details. So it'll actually have a 4-channel remote key fob. And when you hit the first button, you'll hear that voice. The eyes move back and forth. They shift back and forth. And then at the end, a card pops out from under his turban. So basically, you have your spectators select a card previous, and then the poster has basically 4 different predictions to select your chosen card. And the magicians will know what I'm talking about, but may the force be with you and have a magical day, which is also my trademark signature. So, yeah.
One thing that's very interesting too is Chuck. As you guys know, and I'm sure you've been following, Chuck Caputo joined us back in January 15th, and we decided to do a whole line, which it's actually right now, one of the reasons I've been so busy is trying to get the line produced of magic specialized through Chuck Caputo. In other words, it's all going to bear his name, and he's the one finalizing all the tricks, how they work. I'll get the tricks together, and he'll finish it up. And he's heavy into electronics. And if you guys haven't heard of Chuck Caputo, you can Google his name. Not only would you find a lot of information, such as one, he's the largest Unverdi collector in the world. He's got Unverdi magic, and you know what that is, Bill. And then the other thing that he's good for is that Chuck has been an entertainer for about 40 years, full time. And so I've been talking with Dave Haversat as well, because I wanted a lot of those products to be put out by famous companies such as Petrie and Lewis, which were a very famous magic company back in the 50s, which Dave owns the trademark for. He owns the company brand. So it might be put out as, through him and Chuck, and it's going to be, I've got the tricks already. I'm just getting them together, and it's going to be a, House of the Unusual special. We're also thinking, which, William or Bill, you might take into consideration this too, but we're going to probably towards the middle of this coming year, doing a live telecast of like a magic show and stuff like that. And it's going to be produced by, David Joel there, Mr. Joe there, who's basically our writer and creator of a lot of our print material. And we're going to have probably Dave Harvers and myself put it together. And most of the show is going to be probably done by Chuck. But I think it's going to be cool. It's just a test. We're going to test the waters, because right now doing conventions is still kind of in the air. and we don't know when that's going to change. And right now they're doing a lot of conventions online, and I think it would be kind of cool
Well,
to try to
I
figure out for
understand
us to do
Abbott's
something
is
similar.
definitely going to have their convention this year in Michigan, and it's usually in August. So, yeah. So they're actually doing a live convention, and that's in Michigan, one of the hardest states you'd figure, but uh, I don't know. That's
I mean, I don't know. It's all like, hey, it's worth a try to do everything at the same time. It also is worth to try to do it online through. I wouldn't say Zoom because I'm not a fan. I'm not really a fan of Zoom. But
right.
there's a lot of other platforms you can use. So,
What's
Mr.
up?
Joe, what's your take, man? What's your take on this?
Well, I that Star Wars
You don't have a take?
lightsaber sounds really cool. A few years ago I had a buddy who made me one. It was he pretty much made it from scratch, and it was nice. There was a little kind of like a hidden button on the hilt where it was flush with the rest of it, so you could while you were, if you positioned it right by your a certain way in your fingers, if you squeeze it a little hard, it would hit that button and the whole thing would light up. It lit up as at once. It didn't creep from the bottom to the top, but it was real nice material, and there was even a little piece in there that he put that when you would swing it, it would make the the lightsaber sound. So I used to chase my dogs around with it and shut off the lights, and it would glow. I had a red one; it would glow red, so I would chase them around, and when I would swing it, it would make the lightsaber sound and scare the heck out of them.
I'm sure they loved
Oh
it.
yeah, they absolutely loved it. The wife really loved it too. But yeah, it was really cool. And but like you said, Eddie, I guess the middle 3 episodes came out. I love the original ones. I mean those are definitely classics. But when they did the prequels, and it was kind of like okay, this is I guess all right. But and then when they did the 3 new ones, it was like okay, I'm just gonna stick with the classic ones. The original 3.
You want me to tell you something? There was a company back in the early 80s that they're still in business, if I'm correct. They would advertise under Popular Electronics, which was a magazine at the time, and Popular Science and Mechanics. The name of the company is Amazing.
I know the guy.
Now, you know what you're talking. Okay,
right.
His name is Bob Iannini. Now, Bob also made a book entitled "How to Build Your Own Robot." No, I'm sorry, how to build your own laser, phaser.
I have that book.
Ion ray
Yes.
gun. And it's okay. I sold that book in my early days in mail order. That was one of my first books. I have about 40 of them left in stock. But one of the things I'm going to say, though, especially when you see all that, books like that and stuff, Bob Iannini, which if you see him in person, his company sold all the electronic, wild, space age, how to electrify your car, how to build UFOs for under everything you can think of that was fun. And I have that original catalog. And here's the deal. At the time, I spoke with the owner, Bob, and he told me, because I was considering at the time this is before Ghost Ship Times came out, the original magazine. The idea behind the magazine was to make a magazine of science experiments where kids can do science experiments and stuff. And I was going to run ads inside the magazine. This is way before the internet. And I remember Bob said to me, once you do that, I'm going to include you in my catalog. So, he sent me about 40 different plans, and I started putting together my first issue of Ghost Ship Times. What I was saying, the reason I brought this guy up is because I think he's the first one ever that sold plans on how to build those, those swords,
right?
Star Wars.
Actually, I worked with Bob years ago, so yes, I've known him for years. God. So yeah. since the early 80s,
I
because
thought it was kind of
I ordered at the time. I was big into Tesla coils, and I built one with 2 neon sign transformers, and that thing would throw 4-foot sparks in my basement. My friend and I, he was my best man in my wedding. We were choking on the ozone it was producing. There was so much ozone. We opened the windows in the basement, and I took an exhaust fan and blew it out the windows.
Wow.
Did you create a
No,
Frankenstein monster
but
there too? Oh
yeah,
man, you could have brought him to life.
yeah. So
It's alive.
the guy that used to do the um, electronics and the old electronics on the old Frankenstein movies, he was a big Tesla coiler too. So he had all these spark machines and everything. And when you see the old 50s Frankenstein movies and all the sparks running, and he created that. And I forget his name, but
That's Kenneth Strickfaden.
Well,
yeah, Strick.
they call
There you go. That's the gentleman. And he did all the
they,
wild
they
stuff. And I had a huge Jacob's ladder with a neon sign tray, a
that's what I
Jacob's
was gonna say. It
ladder,
was called
and
Jacob's ladder.
you don't dare touch those electrodes. So I had a plexiglass clear shield, and it would protect you from getting a shock against the electrodes because there's like 10,000 volts in there, and the arc starts at the bottom, and as it crawls up, it gets wider and wider. So it's basically the heat rises, and it's creating such a powerful heat source that the arc goes up as it does because it's conductive. So that's why it crawls up, and then it gets to a point where it can't conduct anymore, so it shuts off, and then it starts at the bottom again, and you get that zip, zip, zoop sound as the arc climbs up the Jacob's ladder. So
Well, isn't
yes,
that the ones they
yes,
used in the Frankenstein movie? That's what I'm saying. That's what I was
yeah,
about to mention.
Jacob's ladder,
Jacob's
and
ladder.
then he had this round disc, and the sparks would jump from it all around. So he did all sorts of wild stuff, Strickland, and yeah, he and all the high voltage electronics and everything associated with that.
Now, you said you worked with Baba Yanini. You worked with him what in the
No,
same
no,
job,
we were
factory?
no when we were doing the lightsabers. Yeah, we come up with originally we were just using um, PVC tubes and clear plastic acrylic tubes for the neon, and then later on we got into injection molded handles and things like that. So he did a lot of that in getting
Yeah.
the parts ordered and everything like that. So yep.
You know which one of my favorite ones was the ion ray gun. The plans he sold for it, because if you remember the ion ray gun, that you can also buy it built for like $100 and some dollars. I mean,
Yeah,
I believe Bob is
he
still in
is,
business,
but
unless I'm
he
wrong.
was in a car accident several years ago, and yeah, it paralyzed him basically. So yeah, he gets around in a wheelchair, but it's sad.
Wow. I know one time when I saw him in a photo, I think way back when he sent me, he was missing several fingers in each hand, and I said, okay, that tells you he's done a lot of experiments in his life, Yeah, it was very interesting. But I'll tell you one thing. One of the things I got from him that he taught me is in back of one my most popular mail order ad of my time ever was one that I did in Popular Science in the mid 80s, late 80s actually, and it was how to build a free flying saucer plans catalog, $2. And the free flying saucer plans, what I did is I took a full page ad that I put together with all the novelties. In the back of it, I took right off of Bob's catalog. He sent me these plans that showed you how to take a very thin bag, some type of plastic bag, and you would interlock 4 straws, like make a cross between, 4 straws and stuff, put pins through them, and you would put birthday candles at the end of each pin. You would tape it into this.
Right.
Oh yeah, a dry
Very
cleaning
light.
bag. That's what
Yes.
it was. And when you would light it up, right? When you would light it up, it would take off. And I thought it was. I mean, the thing is, when you put it, since the dry cleaning bag, it's a clear plastic, and then you put the lights inside. As it takes off as a hot air balloon in the night sky, it flickers, so it looks like a UFO. It's really weird looking, especially in the if you have, depending what type of backdrop you have. But the thing with that is, though, that what I got scared of it, and after I sold over 400 of them at the time, because I did very well that month with that ad. I got over 763 orders. I'll never forget that. And I sent the plans as a free gift behind the ad. And what happened is the candles would burn out. It took a long time, so this thing could land in somebody's roof and start a fire or something.
Right.
So I decided to stop selling that.
Right.
But
they have a pyrotechnic device called a sky lantern, which basically does the same thing, and the Japanese use them. But it's basically a short burning candle, and it's kind of like a paper balloon that inflates, and the hot air carries it away. And yes, it does flicker, and it is unusual when you do see it in the sky, because it basically lights up the whole inside of the paper lantern, and that translucent paper, gives off a glow. So yeah, it's even better than the dry cleaning bag, because the paper diffuses the light, so it's a bigger, it may be
it's a bigger thing. Well, that's all taken from the Chinese
sky lanterns.
The Chinese,
the
Koreans, they have this. That's right, Thailanders. They do these things, and it's the same thing, same principle. And I do have a couple of those original.
You can still order them in pyrotechnics. They are available, but yeah, they can start fires if you're not careful. So, yeah,
you got to be careful. But here's another thing. One of the companies that I think copied a lot of the stuff. Well, I don't know if maybe Bob Iannini copied them or they copied him. But there's a company that in the Johnson Smith catalogs used to sell hot air balloons, and they used to sell the 9-foot UFO, which I still have quite a few of them. And I sold myself in Boys Life magazine, and it's a tissue paper. You put it together, and you kind of do like a hot air balloon. But the only difference is that it tells you to put it over an open fire, like a fire pit in your backyard or something like that, and then it takes off. And it was sold by the Space Age Distributing Company, which was out of Michigan. And believe it or not, the company is still in business today under the third or fourth ownership. Because I used to sell those 9-foot UFOs. They were one of my favorite things. And I sold them in Boys Life magazine back in the 80s. So I had it like 3 or 4 times listed on it. But like I said, I think it's kind of all the same technique between the 3 companies. But one thing I'm going to tell you, with all the companies we're talking about and stuff, and Bob Iannini, Bob was such a phenomenal person, especially when I spoke with him at the time, that he even let me use the word far out science, which was actually a flyer he had inside his book there. And I started using the name Far Out Science as my email for many years, which I still have it today, faroutscience@aol.com. Is one of the emails that I originated when I was thinking about doing the time Ghost Ship Times with Bob. Now, the reason I didn't pursue it is, I guess, working and just procrastinating. But it would have probably turned into something very phenomenal, because, like I said, he was the only company, and still today, if he's still in business, that sold the most fun products that you could ever buy. He sold things from spy telescopes to radio pens, anything, and it was all where you could put it together. electrify your car, build a ray gun, phaser gun, a real laser gun. I think most of his plans were for the lasers. But my favorite again was the ion ray gun, of which I actually spent $179 and bought
I
an
have
actual
one as
working.
well.
And I
Yeah.
would. So it says not to use it next to little baby girls. I forgot the reason for that. I think it was the females. Or you remember that a warning?
No,
How
because
funny that
I'm
was?
not usually around them. But when you use that ion gun, everything in the air becomes instantly electrified. Your hair starts standing up on end. The hair on your arms goes up, and yeah, and it charges everything
Well,
in the room.
what happened?
So
Yeah, I was reading the plans, and I have, of course, I have two daughters, and my oldest daughter was about 2 or 3 at the time, and she's 35 now. So we're talking a long time ago. And I remember that it said that. And I said to my wife showed me, says, look, it says not to use it, next to whatever reason. I forgot the reason for it, but it was kind of interesting. So I stored it away, and it's been in storage since that day. I never used it again, but it kind of got me. It bothered me, but it was interesting though. It was interesting how the way all the stuff that he in his catalog sold that you could actually build. But I wasn't really into electronics that much. I really wasn't that good on it, so I spent the $179 and bought the actual thing. It was made with PVC pipes.
yeah.
Remember? Really, really cool. But anyway, how many more minutes we got on the show here, Joe? Because we're blasting away.
Yeah, we got about 3 minutes here, so we're gonna start wrapping it up here, and we'll give our we'll go down the list again and give our final thoughts or comments for the show. So we'll start off with Jude. You got any final thoughts? Any final comments to share with everyone?
It's been fun hanging out with you guys. I appreciate it, and hope to talk to y'all again. And God bless.
Yeah, it's always great sitting with the round table with like-minded people and talking, about, just the same interests and learning new things. Because, especially with magic, that's probably my least knowledgeable area. So I'm always interested in hearing different stuff and learning it. And so William, we'll go ahead with you. What's your final words here?
I'm an Amverti collector too, just like Chuck Caputo, and similar to him, I've built a lot of electronic magic and done other things associated with it. And we actually brought Stuart Donald from Penn and Teller Fool Us. He fooled them to our convention back in March of 2020 before everything shut down. We were probably the last magic convention going. But it's been fun hanging out with you, and great talking about the old novelties that we saw and used as a kid. It's been a lot of fun. Yes.
Absolutely. And once again, William and Jude, thank you for joining us. We want to thank the audience out there definitely for joining us. And if you want to see or hear more of us, head on over to YouTube. Just type in House of the Unusual. You'll find our playlist. There's tons of videos there. Eddie's always posting something different there, dealing with magic or mail order novelties. We've got a bunch of videos by Chuck Caputo showing some magic tricks on there. So go ahead and subscribe to that. Click the like button underneath the videos. And definitely head over to houseoftheunusual.com. We have a free forum there. There's a mailing list you could get on, and head over to the forum, sign up, and let us know what you're thinking about, or let us know about some of your collection or what you're interested in. And if you want to hear a specific topic on the show, or you want to be a guest, drop us a line there. So and you could always definitely find us on your favorite podcast platform under House of the Unusual. So tune in to us every week. We have a new episode coming out. So once again, Jude, William, Eddie, thanks for coming on and sharing all your stories and information with the audience. So
Thanks, guys.
I'd like to say good night to everyone.
God bless.
Good night now. Bye, guys. Bye. Same here. God bless, guys. Bye-bye.